Bonjour.
Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. That's the ITC show. We're going to talk about Africa and more specifically about the needs of Africa and opportunities out there in terms of investment in Africa at every level, supply chain wise. And to do so, we have the honor of having 4 representatives of industry from different regions of Africa, or people who really know Africa very well. I'm going to, give them the floor to introduce themselves. Bonjour.
Sriman from GlaxoSmithKline. I head the packaging for the respiratory category. We have 3 manufacturing sites in Africa, which is in Kenya, in Nigeria, and South Africa. And I am here to discuss some of the prospects of development in that place. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. I am François VESSIERE. I am head of a consulting firm called Top Consult, but I'm also here as a chairman of the Technical Center of Paper doing research on the relevance of packaging, and also with the Spectrum of Africa, because for some times I became director of the Société EMBALLAGE. Okay, I am Mohamed Bassar. I'm head of the communication and exports at General Emballage. General Emballage, which is a leading company in the Algerian market for production and transforming of cardboard. We want today export abroad. Our ambition is to conquer outside markets, including the mythical European market, because from Algeria, it's a huge market, this European market.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alhaji Ahmed Alex Omah. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from the Institute of Packaging Nigeria as an executive director. I'm also the first vice president of African Packaging Organization and a board member of the World Packaging Organization. I also editorial director and publisher of the Nigerian Packaging Journal. I'll be here today discussing the deficiencies in human resources and technology from the Nigerian perspective. Thank you.
Merci, Alex. J'aimerais débuter.
Let me start this talk with identifying the needs through GlaxoSmithKline that set up 3 plans in Africa, right? And which succeeded in having this bet come true, but it was quite hard. Sriman, could you explain to us all the challenges and obstacles you had to face up to in operations in the plans of Africa?
So we have 3 challenges which have been coming across for the last several years in the 3 manufacturing sites which we have in Africa. So the first challenge is in terms of getting technical resources, in terms of packaging who know the subject for development, as well as to run the machines in the 3 sites. The second challenge which we have is in terms of suppliers. And I mean, most of the materials which we use at the 3 sites are imported either from Europe or other parts of the world. And the third challenge which we have is in terms of technology, where at times it becomes difficult in terms of getting good equipments or good contract manufacturers where we can produce our pharmaceutical products.
Okay. Merci.
Thank you, Sriman. We have 3 challenges which are raised here at the level of the talent search. Access to a qualified resource, having equipment which is top-notch, and access to the packaging materials in the supply chain. And here, Alex, representing the Association of Packaging of Africa. Well, Alex, in Nigeria. Alex, could you have any information to add to this?
Like Sriman has actually said, these challenges are there in terms of equipment. But recently, the good news is that quite a number of the multinational companies that have facilities, like in Switzerland, Bob's has actually opened a Nigerian office on the 20th of September. They have invested a lot in Nigeria, and they have brought in one of a first of its kind, a metallizing machine for BOPP metallization, which is actually with a company called Tempo Packaging, which has a line for manufacturing BOPP films. These challenges have been there, and because the level of human resources that we have also is deficient, and when you bring some of this machine into Nigeria, you end up again having to import or bring people, expatriates from outside Nigeria, who have to look after these facilities. But on our own side, from the Institute of Packaging Nigeria, we have recognized these deficiencies, and we have taken pain to travel around the world to see most of these things and see how to import those technology and bring in the resources to support us. In some years back, we had a lot of support from ITC in Geneva. We had conferences, and we have actually put out a roadmap to see how to improve on the human capital in Nigeria. Nigerian as a country as it is, packaging still remains something quite new for us, and we are trying to catch up with the world because the SMEs today are doing a great job, but they still need some of the development, which we are collaborating with other agencies to try and bring enough of these resources so that they can catch up with some of the multinational companies that are already existing.
So we have organizations like yours are training human resources, but it doesn't necessarily... Oh, excusez-moi, je reviens sur le...
Let me go back to French. Companies like yours, organizations like yours are training people. ITC trains people. But in terms of the private sector, you talk about private sector, you have like specific needs in training terms, specific to your sector, to your industry and equipment. In terms of gel emballage and glasses mixed, do you have, what was your approach to training programs?
Yes, at General Emballage. Let me get back to what was said, and everything's been relevant. Let me try to classify the problems we have. Human resources is our #1 problem in terms of human resources skills. Recently, in an interview with an Algerian publication, our president in Algeria, and who unfortunately wouldn't be able to attend here, he referred to what Henry Ford said when he said, "Give me the men, I'll give you the machines." Now, our problem is obviously to have the appropriate machinery and equipment, but we also need people who are able to best benefit from those machines. At General Emballage, we tackle this head on. We're working with an Algerian university located close to our facility, and we've set up a fully dedicated curriculum for curriculum-related issues. Since the 8th of October 2013, we've had what we call a professional or vocational bachelor's degree in packaging. We select the students, some 30 each year. They receive a scholarship, and they have a 2-year curriculum focused on paper packaging and packaging. So this was built, the curriculum was built with French universities. I think the universities in Dijon and Grenoble, which have similar curricula, help to contribute to that. So this helps people to grapple with the product. Our factory has become a full-scale experimental station for these students, and as soon as they graduate, they'll assume responsibilities in management and supervision. So if I understand this properly, you hire them before they start their studies. Yes, that's correct. When the students matriculate for this curriculum. They receive a stipend from us during their studies. So it's a significant amount by Algerian standards. It's roughly 8 times the standard government stipend for university students. So we provide them with cell phones and laptops to facilitate communications with our production site. And they typically come to the plant for 2 or 3 months each year for immersion in the working environment. That's very good. Thank you. Now, what about Glaxo? Did you have the same model with regional universities? What model did you use in order to grow your employee skills?
The way we are doing it currently in many of the countries, including Africa, is we take graduates from the school, and after that we have a tie-up with the Institute of Packaging Professionals in the US, where we provide them the online fundamentals of packaging course for a year, and that's how we are training people in Africa.
Okay. Le deuxième sujet que...
No, we have 2 cases here where we see different methods for developing human resources skills. Now, these are ecosystems. It's broader than just the human factor. We also have material and equipment. Before, Africa was seen from Europe in many ways as a place to send old equipment that was no longer usable in Europe. We see tremendous heterogeneity across Africa, which is an enormous continent. Now, this is my question. What's the current trend regarding the purchase of equipment across different African countries? Well, maybe I could report on what we've seen recently. So I've investigated North Africa with Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, and also in Sub-Saharan Africa. I've seen lots of companies with wonderful machines, international standard machines. Okay, everything is connected to the markets. Markets are extremely demanding in terms of quality requirements. So manufacturers who are already present in the industry are moving forward, some very swiftly. In fact, they have no choice. They have to move forward with high performance equipment in order to meet quality requirements, which are as pertinent in Africa as elsewhere. Also, some countries have introduced regulatory standards, including Algeria. Algeria restricts imports of second-hand equipment now. So this raises the issue of what type of equipment the national companies have to buy. Should they buy the most efficient equipment, specialized equipment, or more flexible equipment that can be used in different ways? What's the approach? Well, regarding Algeria, it's virtually prohibited to import second-hand equipment. Otherwise, you need to go through a complex waiver system with renovation certificates awarded by approved organizations. So I can just discuss our company, Général Emballage. No, we're trying to buy premium equipment. We work with the world's best and most sophisticated equipment manufacturers. However, young companies, startups, with the receiving government subsidies for creating jobs for young people, these young startup companies will often opt for non-European equipment, which is far less costly. So the initial ante for these companies is lower. The issue is to see whether this investment model is going to continue. The question is, will these startups be able to actually start making money before they go bust? No, but that's not our company's purchasing model. Thank you. Now, in Nigeria. Nigeria obviously is one of the countries which has invested most in packaging in Africa, with a large number of multinational companies and top flight suppliers for packaging. So here we're looking at the major companies. Maybe smaller companies have different requirements. Is funding a problem? Is companies able to get loans to buy the equipment? What can small companies do in order to get this top flight equipment?
Yeah, starting back from the areas of equipment, we still do have people who import pre-used equipment into Nigeria, but we also have people who have imported state-of-the-art equipment in Nigeria. About 8 years ago, we have a label cut machine that was in Nigeria. It was the 7th in the whole world, and we brought in the 8th one also. These we actually use for label production for the beverage industries. We have companies like Heidelberg, we have Bob's, we have Windemola. These are companies that are well known globally. They actually manufacture machines to the specification for some Nigerian companies. In terms of funding, the federal government has invested a lot of money into a company called the Bank of Industries. This Bank of Industry actually works with most of the Nigerian banks, which give out loans to small companies and to multinationals. Depends on the kind of investment you already have. These loans are basically for the procurement of machines, and they are paid over a long term.
Merci, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay. We haven't got much time left, but I'd like to wrap up on this point. Earlier, you said that it's critical to develop suppliers and work with suppliers in order to buy local equipment, because most things are imported into Africa. So companies are trying to find national and local suppliers. Do you have any specific strategy to deal with this issue of finding local and national suppliers?
So working with our suppliers in Africa is basically providing them with contracts, long-term contracts, which enables them to get appropriate loans from the bank, which again in turn enables them to import state-of-the-art equipments. Again, I mean, if you see the European equipments, they are mostly good for very high volumes, and if you have a moderate to moderate volumes, it's good to also take equipments from Asia, which come at a competitive cost to start with, and once your volume grows in the next couple of years, we can import from Europe as well. So currently, that's the strategy we are working for in terms of developing our suppliers.
Anything? Quelque chose à... No?
Would you like to add anything? No, I think that we should say that what I saw, at least in terms of cardboard boxes, and in North Africa, we see this. Well, South Africa has been moving forward for quite some time, but in sub-Saharan Africa, the tools are actually brought into play based on market requirements. Markets are now demanding high quality and sustainable development efforts. So what's being done in terms of cardboard and paper packaging and meeting customers' requirements this is something which is present in Africa as in the rest of the world. Africa isn't all that different from the rest of the world. Now, our discussion this morning is focused on Africa, but this is really the state that everyone would like to achieve. So what we see in other parts of the world is also present in Africa now. I think that's going to be the parting word. Thank you very much, François, for that wonderful conclusion. Now, tomorrow, we'll have another roundtable discussion with ITC, and we'll be looking at female entrepreneurs in the area of packaging. So I'll invite you to participate tomorrow, and we have some top-flight participants with us tomorrow. So thank you, one and all. Thank you for traveling to Paris to be with us for ALL4PACK, and have an excellent day.